Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Today's video involves a lot of bonging in the glass bowl. Tough. There's only one or two people who have ever complained about it, but I like to make a joke about it because of that. Basically today I'm feeding what I call my cooler Shadier set. Now, although these live mainly, if I can turn the camera, in that corner. So it's some on the top shelf, mainly those in bloom or too big to go on the lower shelf. The whole of the next shelf down, and then the shelf below that are just the Restrepias. So that's where most of them live, but there are a couple that are in bloom behind us. Next to the Shadier baby, so they get included as well. So I'm watering them, and we'll have a quick look, like an update as we go along. That's quite a few plants to do, but not enough to make the video ridiculously long. I'm making it longer by waffling at the beginning. That's what I do. We have some coffee, essential. The feed's already been prepared. What is in there is my MSU to a TDS of 100. Well, it was nearer 105, quite honestly. I haven't written it down yet. The cat's in the way. He's actually on the bit in there. Oh, he's moved now. He was actually on my mouse. Probably a load of A's across the screen or something. But I didn't want to disturb him, you know. So up probably 105 of MSU, and then I topped it up to a TDS of 160 with CalMag. So an additional calcium and magnesium, tiny bit of nitrogen in amongst that, and some iron in a readily available source. I don't use the CalMag very often. This time of year in the growing season I tend to use the calcium nitrate as an addition. Basically that's quite a bit of extra nitrogen with the calcium to back it up, but I've chosen CalMag this time. I don't use it often. Why I chose it today, I haven't got a reason. I just felt like using some CalMag. It's the only time I give a boost of magnesium, because the calcium nitrate is a calcium boost and nitrogen, whereas this actually boosts the magnesium as well. Essential for photosynthesis. Right, so we will get the plants over one at a time. Top shelf first. Now in amongst this set are mainly Masdevallias, Odontoglossum types, and my Restrepias. That's basically it. Now this Masdevallia is Inca Prince. It hasn't long been repotted. As a consequence, this is quite dry, and it shouldn't be as dry as that. But gradually, as the media ages, it'll catch up with the rest of them. I'm not effectively doing a separate run. So what I do is, because I reuse water, I put some of my feed in this bowl and then water plants with it until it's gone. So basically it does run through, and whatever comes out of this pot will go in the next one. But I only use a small amount at a time, so it doesn't get reused much. Now this is pushing some nice new roots down into the pot now, or nice new root, singular. There's others in there. So this one's coming on. It's got a little bit of leaf issues on older leaves, but it does have new ones coming, and it currently has 2 blooms that are good. The next one on here hasn't been repotted yet, and it needs it. Why does it need it? It's in a black pot and I can't see what's going on, and this mould is starting to get on the moss. The moss is starting to get mouldy. Yeah, it's got some new roots growing. That needs repotting. I think I'll do that one now. No, I won't. It's in bloom. We'll wait. We'll give it another couple of weeks and then we'll do it. It has got some new growths. but it's not in my moss. I don't know what moss it's in, but as it came from Alan, it's probably in the same sort of moss as I use. It's unlikely he uses anything different. Again, we've got some new growths pushing up. 1, 2, 3, 4 new leaves forming, and the clip that was holding the bloom has just come undone. We'll need to do that back up, otherwise it will waggle around and possibly get damaged, so we'll just reintroduce that spike to the clip. Got it. There we go, that's that one. And then there's one more on this shelf that comes into this set. All the others on this shelf are in the normal pots run. And this is the giant thing. New growths on this are they're stonking. But they don't seem to be growing the way the previous ones did. You look at this, is the most advanced, and the leaf is arching over early. This doesn't seem to have grown as high as the previous ones. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not sure. The previous ones could have been forced, but the number of new growths is really good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8, possibly 8. And then over here we've got a previous leaf that's just starting to spike, so we've got a new bloom coming. This hasn't long been repotted. It's not quite as dry as the previous one, but it is a bit dry. It's a Masdevallia after all. This is the Cuculata crossed with Hercules. I think the Hercules is the plant, the species that's actually put the giant into this one, because it is quite a big one. Of course, absorbing quite a lot of water as well. That's got it. That's why I like the clear pots. I can now see that it's got to all parts of the pot. Now if that was in a black pot, I wouldn't have been able to see that, and it wouldn't have got that last bit, and that would have left some parts of the pot dry. So right, that's that shelf done, so these can now go back out the way. It's only, as I said, that one, the large one, can't go on the lower shelves because it simply wouldn't fit. And these two are in bloom, and the spikes mean that they can't on the lower shelves because they wouldn't fit, and I wouldn't be able to see them. Any excess water that I get, drainage water, goes in that tray of moss on the floor. Right, now we move down to the next shelf. This is an assortment. This is a Miltoniopsis primary cross. It's doing okay. We looked at this not long ago, can't think why. But this is a primary cross of Vexillaria and the Phalaenopsis type Miltoniopsis. It does have some new growths growing. I won't say it's doing exceptionally well, but it's growing some roots. It has a good root system, and there's new roots growing. So it's okay, doing okay. And then the next one is another Miltoniopsis, and those are my only Miltoniopsis, these two. I'm just going to stop on this plant because this plant's got what looks like quite a bit of mould on it. I've moved it basically. These Miltoniopsis weren't really getting much airflow at all, so I've moved them into the front of the shelf rather than the back of the shelf. They now get their airflow. But last time I looked at this plant, I didn't clean the leaves off. I'm doing it now. It's just water basically, but hopefully we've got the this is quite dry as well. We've got the humidifier on now, so I'm actually drying the air out at night. So at night we've got the dehumidifier on at night, along with the circulating fan. So we've got airflow and we're getting the humidity right down low overnight. Basically it's the night time that provides the ideal environment for this mould. you know, very moist air, and parts of the grow room don't get much airflow. That's not doing bad, but I wouldn't say it's doing well. Right, next one. This is part of a split. This is Colmonara Masai, either white or pink. Do you know, I can remember saying these names recently, so I've got a feeling we might have done one shelf at a time. I don't remember doing it. So my mind just, you know, I sound like I'm repeating myself. So if we've looked at these plants recently, tough, we're looking at them again. But that's got a nice strong new growth and is starting to push some roots out. So coming on okay. Next one along. Now this is a strange one. This is a Zelenkosidium, and it's Calico Gem. And it's one of a set of 3, the other 2 are here, but they are in my cooler Shadier set. This hasn't long been repotted, but a while ago, not freshly repotted, and its nice new growth is coming on well with roots, so that one's doing okay. That will bloom on that growth when it matures, he says with confidence. Next one along here is not doing brilliantly, but not dead yet. This is an Odontoblossum, it's Anna Claire. This is the one I got from Brian Gould at Wessex Orchid Society. He had it in a show basically, and I said on his display, and I said I liked it, and he said, "Do you want it?" So I took it off his hands. Lovely blooms, and nice new growth coming. It will probably bloom on that new growth. I may stop it blooming on that new growth as it hasn't got much backup at the moment. But the new growth's coming on okay. That one, and then we get to the expensive one. These might not need watering because they're in larger pots with quite a bit of moss. They don't dry out that quickly, so they might not need watering. Yes, they can have some. So this is the tippling that came from Mather's Foundation at Wisley, so I got these back in. That would have been end of March, I think, Wisley, and I paid an awful lot of money for them. They're going to grow a new growth each. They come as a pair, and yeah, that's dry enough that can actually have some. As I said, these are in quite large pots compared with some others. And that is replicating how these would have been repotted at the Mather's Foundation. Jim would have done on pots similar to this size. So I'm just replicating what would have been done. And I let them get almost dry, but not actually dry. These are genuine cool growers, and they're coming on. So they've got new roots growing. That's the first one of the 2. This is the second one. They're both the same plant, it's just a dark form and a light form. This one's in the same boat. It'll only grow one new growth, which it's doing quite nicely. And this is not going to get much water. This isn't quite as dry as the last one was. But as this is a feed run, if I don't water it in this run because it's still wet, then it will have missed the feed run. And it probably won't get fed again for another month. And as it's pushing up a new growth, I'm sure it will use that food. Albeit a very light amount of feed. Hang on, the coffee's going to have to go somewhere else at the moment. I'm running out of space. This is one of my larger shelves. At the moment. Oh, well, here comes Fluff. You want to go out? Come on then. spends an amount of time sat in the garden nowadays. He never used to. He used to go out for functional reasons, shall we say. Whoops! Now this is the other piece of that Masai white or pink that was a back bulb that I decided to plant. And that's also growing roots. So that's doing okay as well. And then we've got some more Masdevallias down here. These are ones that are just growing on basically, not in bloom or anything. This is the other, no, this is Prince Charming. This is a relatively new one. Signs of new roots and a new growth, singular. So it's picking up. I wouldn't say it's growing its head off, but it's picking up. With repotted Masdevallias, it's a matter of getting those new roots going. Sometimes that's a timing issue. It's making sure that you repot at a point where some new roots should come soon, because they will stall sometimes because of the root disturbance. They just stall and they stop growing. Right, what is this? This is the other piece of Inca Prince. So this was the smaller part of the division. This is quite dry, it's a recent repot, pushing out a new growth. And there's a root right down the bottom of the pot, root tip growing, so it is growing roots. This is all we want to see. So that's good, that one's coming on okay. Which is good, because Inca Prince is a good one, and having two, obviously more opportunity for things to be in bloom more often. And this is Masdevallia falcata, which I've put a capital F on front of that, so that must be a hybrid. Again, recently repotted, so quite dry. This is the problem I get. I don't worry about it with a flush of new growths coming up like that round there. I think there's 4 there, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just in that bit. And then there's some more round here. This is just going mad, this is. With all those new growths, I will get a huge shed load of new roots. And as a consequence, this plant will do well. This was one of Alan's, I believe, at the Wessex auction, so that would have been back in June, so that, yeah, that is quite a recent repot. I think that's where it came from anyway. I'm not looking them up. And then the last one on this shelf, another Masdevallia. This is, it's difficult to know how to say that. Nieseniae. It's Niessenniae. Sure you got enough vowels in there, Butch? And again, this one's pushing up a nice set of new growths. And there's some signs of new roots. It's not going mad with the roots, but with the new growths the roots should follow. And again, reasonably dry because not long repotted. So it takes a while for the bark to start holding moisture that little bit longer. It just takes a while. And in the meantime, they do go almost bone dry in between, but it doesn't seem to do them any harm. Right, so that's that shelf done. Let's put everything back where it goes. Quite a crowded shelf, this one. But it's a lower shelf. As I said, this is what I call my Shadier cooler set. So they are in the shade by being a shelf down. They've got plants above them, and they're the farthest point from the brightest part of the grow room. So, hence, shady. Oops. There's still room on that. The back part of this double shelf basically is not full by any means. rest of them go along the front part so they get a little bit more light. Not a lot, but a little bit more. And I always point the new growths towards the light. So they literally grow towards the light. The last two are the Miltoniopsis. The other one goes back, so that effectively goes between those two shelves. That now gets the fan on it. I can actually see the leaves slightly moving, which they weren't before. And then the last shelf is all the Restrepias. This is one of the little ones that came down from Hannah. Got a few leaves that have gone. We'll snip them off. They don't do any harm as such, but they do make the plant look a bit unsightly. This one's coming on okay. It's got several new leaves on it and it's growing roots. This one's taking longer to establish after its repot than some of the bigger plants. And when these came to me, they had no roots. I was very surprised they even survived, but they hung in there, and slowly but surely these two are now starting to grow. As I said, they came down from Hannah. She basically couldn't look after them. She didn't have the right environment to start with, and then with all the hospital visits and the surgery and everything, they just got totally neglected, and they ended up coming down to me. If they'd come down months earlier, they wouldn't have in such a poor state, but there were other things going on. Again, nice new growths coming on here, several, so it's coming on. So those two are the ones that came down from Hannah. One is Antennifera Frontino Giant, and this one is Ephipium. I'll get there in a minute. Or words to that effect. And slightly larger one now. This one's, all of these have been relatively recently repotted. This is Cupria, but it has to be classed as a hybrid because the pollen was not guaranteed to have come from another one of these plants, although it probably was. The bloom looks right. Does to me anyway. But when you're selling plants as a nursery, you know, if you can't guarantee that you have a genuine species, then come on then, trouble. Not too much noise, please. That'll be the day. This one is Haulise, so this is one of the ones that came from the Eric Young Foundation. Oi! Shh! Shh! Noisy cat. This one's doing okay. New growths are now not distorted. Some previous growths have that distortion, that's lack of hydration, but the latest ones are coming up nice and clean. So these are all growing nicely now. So that now has enough roots to hydrate the plant good enough for the new growths to be clean, and there's plenty more new growths coming. We should get some blooms on that again soon. Right. Next one is, this one is Sanguiniae. This is one of the real recent repots, so some of the new growths are still slightly distorted, but most of the new growths are now coming up clean. So it's getting a root system going slowly but surely. watching this run down the pot to make sure it gets down into the bottom. These have very, very fine roots, Restrepias, but nonetheless, unlike many fine-rooted orchids, they're not necessarily shallow-rooted. They can push right down in the pot. And then the last one on the shelf. Oh, don't get under my feet, Pat. Knock me over. You want to go out again? I think you're just going to be a nuisance, aren't you? Nothing new there. This is Falkenbergii. This is my longest running Restrepia. I've had this one the longest. It's actually been split a couple of times and gone to other people. But lots of new growth again. New growth coming up clean. And kikis growing. These grow kikis from the underside of a leaf. So if you look at that leaf there, and then I turn it round, there's a new growth coming out from underneath that leaf. Once that gets roots, that can just be taken off and can become a new plant. That position behind the leaf is also where the spikes come from. So that one's decided to do a few kikis. Not a bloom in sight. All the Restrepias, not one bloom at the moment, and that's unusual because they are, in effect, they are perpetual bloomers. They can bloom non-stop. You know, mature plants, with good root systems, in the right conditions, will have blooms on them virtually all the time. Sometimes they'll have a mad flush, and other times it will just be an odd one. But they can be in bloom constantly. Right. And the two little ones. Go in there. Right. Just two more, and they're actually in bloom, so they're out here. That's this one, which is tiger tail. The blooms are just going over now, so that spike will come off in the next few days. And it has a new growth already heading up to maturity, and on the bulb that's bloomed, the new growth has already started, and we've got new roots. So this one's doing fine. This is growing nicely. Yeah, doing okay. Hadn't been repotted that long ago. I suppose you could safely say any pot that I pick up that's got small bark, perlite and moss in it hasn't been done that long, because I've only started using the moss again this year, and then not right from the beginning of the year because I ran out. So that's that one. Got me coffee as usual. And then this other one, this one has no name. It was always one of the two that was going to be tiger tail, but once these pair of blooms came out, that's tiger tail, this isn't. It could be a version of tiger tail, it depends what's been done. But anyway, this one's got a new growth coming, and the previous new growth's in bloom. And again, talk about forming a pattern, the bulb that has the spike on already has its new growth. So it's doing exactly the same as the previous one. But this one has much bigger spikes. And the plant itself is slightly bigger as well. Right, so that's that set. I did have the Paphiopedilums in that set, but I don't like leaving them as long as I leave that set between waterings. So I've taken them out. They get watered and fed with the rest of the normal pots now, which is a little bit more frequently, and if they get fed they get a higher level of feed as well. Now a lot of people say don't feed Paphiopedilums high, very low feed. It's where the weekly statement comes from, which I've always objected to. You know, if you've got cooler temperatures and everything, and you've watered a Paphiopedilum and you come to water it the following week and it's still soaking wet, are you going to water it again? It's just such a daft statement. You know, when you've got cooler temperatures and your plants perhaps aren't growing vigorously, you water them when they need it. And if that takes 2 weeks, chances are it's in the wrong media, because it should have dried out a bit quicker than that. And that's where you adjust the media to your environment, and that can be quite important for success or failure. Right, the little bit of feed that's left is just going to get used for the mounts. They need doing today, and the so we've got some butterflies in the garden. The sun's, well, I was going to say the sun's just come out, and as I said, it went in again. It's coming and going along with showers, and tomorrow sounds like it's just going to be wet and windy overnight and into tomorrow. So it's just like that at the moment, you know, it comes and goes. Right, so that's today's video. A bit of watering and a look at the what I call the Shadier cooler set, consisting of plants that don't need the bright light and don't need high feed levels and prefer cooler temperatures. That is what that set's all about. And they get a separate watering run as a consequence. But there's not enough in there to do the mounts, not even with the bit I've got in there, so I'll just pour some water in there and make it just a weak feed. So not a flush as such, but not a proper feed, just a, you know, low feed, just because that's what I've got. Right, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.